Padre Pio died on September 23, 1968, yet his intercession continues to manifest miracles even half a century later. In today's video, we explore the testimony of a man who experienced healing in 2003 after touching Padre Pio's glove. Stay tuned to hear this remarkable story. Welcome back to our YouTube channel following Padre Pio. If you're new to our channel, Padre Pio was a Capuchin friar, mystic, and miracle worker whose intercession is still very powerful and active today. We publish videos and shorts 5 days a week, so follow us to find out more about the life of this fascinating saint, and you will be amazed at what Padre Pio can do for you, a family member, or a friend. And now to our story. Today's story comes from Padre Pio's biographer Diane Allen. She received a fascinating testimony from David Doherty from Derry, Northern Ireland, about his miraculous recovery when faced with death after encountering Padre Pio's relics. Listen to this. David had always taken good care of his health, so it came as a complete surprise when his doctor told him in 2003 that he needed triple bypass heart surgery. He was sent to the Golden Jubilee National Hospital in Glasgow, Scotland for the operation. His doctors were pleased with the outcome of the surgery and considered it a success. However, David soon needed a second heart surgery, after which his health started to rapidly decline. He was transferred to the ICU, where he drifted in and out of consciousness. The doctors explained the gravity of David's situation to his wife, Isabel. They told her that he could die at any moment and advised her to notify the family immediately. In the meantime, David was put on a ventilator to help him breathe. Antibiotics could not stop the infection that was spreading throughout David's body. Soon, his kidneys failed and septicemia set in. The doctors told Isabel and the family that they had done everything humanly possible. There was nothing else they could do. One of David's daughters managed to acquire Padre Pio's glove and a piece of bandage that covered his stigmata. She brought these relics to the hospital and placed them on her father's chest, who was unconscious. Then everyone present recited the rosary and prayed for Padre Pio's intercession. At one point, David's children noticed the fragrance of incense at their father's bedside. The following day, a priest came into the ICU and gave David the last rites. Now, despite the unlikeliness of David's survival, he started to show signs of improvement. The doctor called Isabel aside and said to her, "It is amazing to see the changes in your husband's condition. He is getting better." After spending 9 weeks in the hospital, David was finally released. Everyone was amazed at his miraculous recovery. David was astonished when his family explained how close he was to death. He had no idea. However, when they told him about Padre Pio's relics, it was the family's turn to be amazed. You see, David shared that while he was laying in his hospital bed, he experienced seeing himself as already dead. He saw his body in a coffin in a small village just outside of Derry. He was watching his own wake. He then saw his coffin being placed in a hearse and driven to Derry. After that, he saw himself in a field in which he could see for miles and miles in every direction. But what he saw was horrific. There were millions of bodies crawling over each other in mud. Everything was bleak and colorless. While he stood there in shock, he thought to himself, "Is this where I'm going to spend eternity?" Suddenly, a loud voice shouted at him, "Get out! Get out and save some souls." David saw himself back in his coffin in the hearse. The driver then stopped on the side of the road. The man in the passenger seat asked the driver, "Why have we stopped?" To which the driver replied, he has been given a second chance. Now, before this experience, David knew almost nothing about Padre Pio. He knew that Padre Pio had the stigmata, but that was about it. Furthermore, he neglected his relationship with God. He went to Mass on Sundays, but if something else came up which caused him to skip Mass, he never gave it a second thought. Prayer was not an important part of his life, and even though he knew that he was going to undergo a very serious heart operation, it had never even occurred to him to pray before the surgery. At the time he was admitted to the hospital, he had not been to confession in more than a year. However, everything changed drastically after David was given a second chance. David started going to confession regularly. He never missed Sunday Mass, and praying the rosary became a part of his daily routine. Yet, he still often thought about the voice that shouted at him, "Get up and save some souls." He now knew this was Padre Pio's voice, but what could he possibly do to save souls? Well, the answer became clear one day when he attended a Padre Pio prayer group meeting. After the meeting, David decided to start a Padre Pio prayer group in his own parish. He was granted permission from the bishop and made a little booklet containing Padre Pio's favorite prayers. The first prayer group meeting was held in January 2005. But his endeavors didn't end there. Before we continue with David's testimony, if you've been moved by our stories about Padre Pio and would like to deepen your connection with this apostolate while helping us continue producing content for the benefit of the soul, please consider joining our Protected Children of Padre Pio program. During this month of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, we are offering a special incentive. For those who join and give at least £10, usually 20, you will receive a booklet of Padre Pio's favorite prayers. By joining, you become more than just a supporter of a YouTube channel. You become a Padre Pio apostle, helping us in bringing Padre Pio's teachings to many. As a member, you'll also receive special benefits, such as Masses celebrated regularly for your intentions. To learn more about how you can join and save some souls, please click the link in the description below. Now back to David's story. Upon hearing about the Padre Pio prayer group David had started, a religious sister from Dublin reached out to him, expressing interest in starting a group in her parish. David was happy to help. He even traveled to Dublin to meet Sister Mela and gave her a copy of the prayer booklet he made. Moreover, a young woman from Dungiven, not too far from David's hometown, invited him to help her form a Padre Pio prayer group in her parish. David was then contacted from someone in England who also expressed interest in forming a prayer group. Reflecting on his near-death experience and everything that has happened since, David said, "My life and my family's life has taken a change in a direction I wouldn't have thought possible. I feel sure that it would not be here today if it had not been for the prayers and the intercession of Padre Pio. I'm just happy to be alive." End of testimony. Thank you for listening, and I hope you join our Protected Child of Padre Pio program so I can send you this booklet.